2021, the 10-year-long year, was a weird one for wrestling. We spent some of the 12-month decade still variously locked up, socially distanced, or holding Pikachu up to our laptop camera so he could be in the Thunderdome. Trolling! I choose you! And if, as a spectator, it was bad watching wrestling, imagine what it must have been like for the wrestlers themselves. Going out and busting your ass with no crowd to speak of, not knowing whether the indie promotion you were working for would survive the pandemic, and constantly looking over your shoulder for John Laurinaitis and his great big budget balancing abacus and axe. It's enough to make you, I don't know, like, want to pack it all in. And to be fair, a few people did. Some called time on long, illustrious careers, some got out while the getting was good, and others made the difficult decision for the sake of their health. I'm Laurie, hailing from partsFUNknown, and these are all the wrestlers who retired in 2021. Before we get on with the video though, do the subscribe thing if you enjoy the content here and want to make sure that you don't miss any in future, because it majorly helps us out as well, so it would be greatly appreciated. Thanks and that. I don't know what numbers there are, there might not be 10, so I'd Sabu. There are a few true ECW legends currently wrestling with any regularity, and after 2021, there is one fewer as the suicidal, homicidal, genocidal Sabu announced his retirement. During an interview with Wrestling Shoot Interviews, Sabu revealed that he was not planning on wrestling from that point forward. He did say, however, that he would return to the ring to wrestle Brock Lesnar in his retirement match, but considering that Lesnar is a bit preoccupied with a massive WWE contract, and Sabu does not strike me as someone that WWE are exactly frothing at the mouth to call for a one-time match with the Beast Incarnate, it seems far more likely that we have seen Sabu take his last crazy-ass bump. Truthfully though, Sabu has been wrestling a fairly regular schedule, pandemic not included, for the last few years now, so it's not even like he just decided not to take his one booking every 3 months. This man was going and probably deserves a good long rest. Time to bury the barbed wire in a concrete pit under your garage like John Wick, Sabu, and just get a dog or something. Jake Atlas. Jake Atlas had a boatload of potential in pro wrestling, but potential does not buy peace of mind. Following his release from WWE earlier this year, Atlas took to Twitter to announce his retirement from wrestling altogether. In those tweets, he said, "I'm not concussed or banged up, I simply just can't keep going anymore. Take your mental health seriously, both for yourselves and for each other, because we only have one life to live. Thank you to anyone who did support me for 5 years. I didn't do much, but what I did was fun." Atlas had wrestled for Ring of Honor shortly before calling it quits, but ultimately made the admirable decision to step away to work on his own mental health. Because the life of a wrestler is a hard one. There's antisocial work hours, long drives, lots of time away from home, and a grueling physical grind. And ultimately, sometimes it doesn't matter how successful you are, or how talented you are, or how much you just want it, you gotta do what's best for your brain. Nia Jax. So here's a bit of a more recent one. Nia Jax was one of the higher profile releases from 2021, a mainstay of the WWE women's division, but after being let go, she decided to hang up her boots for good. Now, Jax was released by WWE on November the 4th, 2021, despite being given time off to deal with her mental health. That is just your reminder there that WWE is truly a lovely, wonderful company to work from. Jax would go on to say soon after that it was very unlikely that she would ever step foot in the ring again. Now, Nia was a product of the WWE Performance Center and had spent no time on the independent wrestling scene prior to her start with the company. Of course, these decisions could change. It is wrestling after all. Retirements in wrestling are like deaths in the X-Men comics, impermanent. But considering the less than amicable split between Jax and WWE and her apparent lack of interest in working elsewhere, it seems most likely that we have indeed seen the last of Nia Jax and her hole. Do you remember that? It was this year. It was this year when Nia Jax scooped her hoop on the apron. Where does the time go? Awesome Kong. Awesome Kong will be best remembered for her stellar work in the early days of TNA wrestling, as well as a wonderful body of work from her time in Japan, because otherwise injuries and other circumstances truly robbed us of potential great runs from Kong in both WWE and AEW. On August the 28th, 2021 at NWA Empower, Awesome Kong announced that she would be retiring from wrestling, having had her last match on AEW Dark in January 2020. She did it standing across the ring from her most prolific rival, Gail Kim, with the two sharing an embrace as Kong wept. The two defined each other with their brilliant rivalry in TNA in 2007, and for Kong to announce that she was done, there was no one else better suited to share the ring with her one final time. The Brian Kendrick. After a 2-decade career, the Brian Kendrick called it quits on March 31st, 2021. Kendrick had made the transition to being a producer for WWE in the years before this, but it was not until he appeared on a WWE video about life after wrestling that he actually confirmed his retirement from in-ring action. Kendrick had returned to WWE in 2015 for a match with Finn Balor in NXT before competing in the Cruiserweight Classic and then becoming the second modern Cruiserweight champion. Kendrick has been working backstage on NXT and 205 Live in more recent times, and he's probably got a lot more on his plate right now, considering the state of those two shows. They're not exactly what they were when you gave the interview, Kendrick, were they? Anyway, regardless, Kendrick retires having held titles in multiple major promotions and creating a legacy as the second best guy named Brian from his wrestling class. That's probably rude. Is that rude? It feels a bit rude, but Bryan Danielson was in the class. Sadie Gibbs. Another star to announce their retirement, incredibly young former AEW star Sadie Gibbs announced her backing away from wrestling in April 2021 at the age of just 29. Gibbs revealed in a lengthy post on Instagram that she was ready to let wrestling go after a very confusing last year and a half. I mean, a global pandemic will make one reevaluate their priorities for sure. Gibbs spoke about wanting to commit to establishing her brand and aspiring to work as a life coach, so it is very clear that she is walking away from wrestling to pursue something that she is truly passionate about. Gibbs wrestled only 3 matches for AEW before parting ways with the company due to the pandemic, limiting travel between the United States and the UK. Kenny Dykstra. Former WWE World Tag Team Champion and member of the Spirit Squad, Kenny Dykstra made the announcement of his retirement on April the 20th, 2021 at the age of only 35 years old. God, it really makes you think how crazy young he was when he was wrestling the likes of Triple H, Shawn Michaels and Ric Flair. And this is something that he himself was pondering when he announced his retirement, stating that I've decided to retire from in-ring wrestling. When I started at 13, I thought I'd retire at 40, but smart investments over time have allowed me to be done now. I'm in my prime, and that will go towards my family and being a father, thanks to the fans who stuck by me. Dykstra joined WWE as a producer in NXT later in the year, with recent Fightful Select reports stating that he could be fast-tracked to the main roster in a similar role. I mean, it's good to keep busy after retirement, of course. It was this or way too much golf. Hurricane Helms and Kane. Aha! The barrel begins to be scraped. Because this happened during the Royal Rumble, and the Royal Rumble has probably played host to the final matches of many top stars over the years, with so many people doing their surprise returns late in their career for a cheap pop and then a chuck over the top rope. This was certainly the case in 2021, with Hurricane Helms and Kane both making appearances in the men's Rumble matches. Neither man has wrestled since, but both seem to be the type to milk one surprise Rumble appearance for a while before jumping in and doing another one. Now, Helms said in a 2019 tweet that he was struggling with the idea of retirement, while Kane has simply been too busy being the mayor of Knox County to make time to be a big old flamey devil demon thing, whatever he is. It seems entirely possible that we could see both of these men wrestle again, but with both considered inactive wrestlers right now, and with both having wrestled their last matches in 2021, both of them fit the bill for this list currently, and we had to stretch stuff to fit the time and to fill the video. Sue us. Sue me. Bring it. Jillian Hall, Tori Wilson, and Victoria. These ones are a little bit cheeky too, as they weren't announced retirements like the other entries on the list. They were in the Royal Rumble, but regardless, the record books show that Jillian Hall, Tori Wilson, and Victoria all wrestled their last matches to date at the Royal Rumble match in January 2021. This was Jillian's first match since 2013, Wilson's first since Evolution in 2018, and Victoria's first match since losing to Jordynne Grace in the Match for Warrior Wrestling in 2019. None of these women were wrestling regularly before this match, so save for another guest appearance in a WWE ring, it is entirely possible that this will be the final match of each of their careers. During the Rumble match, after the return pop that these ladies got from the big old wall of iPads that was known as the Thunderdome, none of them got an elimination and spent a combined 19 minutes and 17 seconds in the match before being thrown out. Well, I guess A+ for effort. I'm kind of convinced they'll be back though, because the women's roster in WWE is smaller than ever following all the releases, and much like this list, the women's Royal Rumble needs some padding. Madison, Rayne, ACH, and Lio Rush. Hey, we didn't say that everyone on the list had stayed retired. Wrestling probably has more examples of people saying they're retired and then getting back into it than any other industry apart from Assassin for Hire with lovely family/dog/car who gets dragged back in after calling it quits because said family/dog/car winds up dead at the hands of the Russians. Sabu, dig out the barbed wire, me old China. But hey, do whatever makes you happy, right? And if you find yourself in a different part of your life and realise you want to wrestle again, by all means, chase that passion, especially if you're young like these folks. Madison Rayne announced her retirement at Impact Impact's Hard to Kill event in January 2021, but then wrestled for the promotion again by the end of the year. ACH, meanwhile, took to Instagram to announce that he was stepping away from wrestling back in July before returning to the ring, having his most recent match against Jonah at an indie show in New Jersey. Finally, you've got AEW star Lio Rush, who announced his retirement due to injury after debuting at Double or Nothing. Rush then ultimately returned and signed with AEW, beginning a partnership with Dante Martin. Rush and Tony Khan have also spoken highly of each other regarding Rush's decision to return to the ring, and it sounds like he is currently feeling fulfilled. And really, is that not the point of all of this? Another lovely warm ending of a video from Laurie. You're welcome. So there we are, those are the folks who hung up their boots and some of them who put them back on because we needed to pad for time, because wrestling is something that is hard to walk away from. Which wrestling star will you be most sad about when they retire? Let me know in the comments down below and click the videos on screen now for more awesome PFK content. Jam that jam.